Okay, now let's review our writing questions. Okay, so our written response questions are 5 questions, but there's an error on 2 of them with the outcome. So there are 2 extra pages I will explain to you, but I'm not sure whether they will be in the exam or not. It is up to you if you would like to study it or not. Okay, so the first written response question is from page 19. So from this question, there are many things they could ask you. So number 1, in the beginning, they speak here about plates and plate motion, and when they move, what they can form. So when plates push together, they end up making mountains. We also get lots of earthquakes and volcanoes at these plate boundaries. So mountains, earthquakes, and volcanoes happen at plate boundaries. What is a volcano? Well, a volcano is when the Earth's surface opens up and melted rock called lava and gas comes out of it and some dust. So it is an opening in Earth's surface and lava comes out. Most earthquakes happen on plate boundaries and especially at the boundary at the Pacific Ocean called the Ring of Fire. Now let's look at what is an earthquake. An earthquake is a sudden movement of Earth, when Earth suddenly shakes. And when this happens, it can cause, it's because of the boundaries shifting as they move, and the energy causes an earthquake. So the waves travel through, causing destruction. Okay, so let's see if we can answer some of these questions. Question 2 says, describe the patterns of volcanoes and earthquakes that are shown on the world map. So where do we find most volcanoes and earthquakes? So over here you will say most volcanoes and earthquakes, use your spelling, are found near plate boundaries. Okay, so we find them near plate boundaries. This is the main thing you need to study. We find earthquakes and volcanoes near plate boundaries. Okay, so over here, this is an important question. I do think that this is the one that may be in the exam. You need to put these words, sorry about that, put these words in the correct place. Abyssal plain, earthquake, mountain, volcano. So abyssal plain is the only one that is not near plate boundaries. All of the other 3 are near the plate boundary. So not the only one thing that is not near the plate boundary is an abyssal plain. Why? Because it means the land is flat. We don't have flat land near plates. Plates are pushing and pulling. They make earthquakes, they make mountains, they make volcanoes. Okay, so here are some of the questions we already spoke about. You may pause the video and learn the answers. Okay, so what did we say here? They happen near plate boundaries. What is a volcano? An opening on Earth's surface. Lava comes out. What is an earthquake? The sudden moving of Earth's plates. You can say plates or Earth's surface or Earth's crust. Any of these words are fine. Where do most volcanoes occur? This answer and this answer are the same, near plate boundaries. If you want, and you can remember the ring of fire, you can write that in, but you already have to learn this word near plate boundaries, so you will know it for both answers. What type of plate motion forms mountains when they are pushing? So we'll say pushing together. What can form a mid-ocean ridge when they pull away? Okay, so over here I've mixed up the words. Let's see if we can remember which is the one thing that is not near the plate boundary. The abyssal plain. So the abyssal plain is the only one not near the plate boundary. The other three are near the plate boundary. We get earthquake, we get mountains, and volcanoes. Okay, the next question is on page 96, and it is only about this figure. So we need to understand this picture completely. Okay, so let's look at our picture. And in class, I've already explained how we can remember this. If you look over here, it makes these C shapes. And our C shape is for the word with the C, crest. Now you may get confused and you say, oh, but there's three of them. Maybe it's this word over here. But look at it carefully. This word has arrows on it. We don't want arrows. We only want the C shape. So we are going to look only at this one. Okay? This is our crest. Crest because it has our C shape. The next word we're going to look for is our U shape. So remember, we are not looking at the ones with arrows for the first two. These have arrows. We are only going to look for our C and our U. So our U shape, the word with the U, is our trough, the bottom of the wave. So our U shape, trough. C shape, crest. How long the wave is, we can see the long line from the one side to the other side is our wave length, the long, long word. Wave length. Okay, our wavelength is from one side to the other. And we all know we want an A in science, and an A means that we are going to go right up to the top. So amplitude is our height of the wave. A, we want an A, we're going to go up to the top. Okay, you may not have noticed, but there is a label over here. And that label is for the one that has the two arrows on the side, which is our wavelength. So this wave at the bottom and the wave on the top have two very different shapes. You need to know the names of these two waves. The one that makes the S shape also has S's in the word. The word is transverse. It has two S's in it. Please learn the word. Transverse wave. The wave at the bottom, we can see it has a very long kind of shape, and that is because it is a longitudinal wave. So longitudinal is a very long-shaped wave. Transverse has a lot of these S shapes. Okay, so this is a clearer picture for you to use to study. Please make sure that you know these labels. They are telling you this is coming in the exam, and it is for 8 marks. Please make sure you learn the name of the two waves and the words in pink. Okay, now let's go to page 12. We've already reviewed this page, but the writing question here is about the figure. It may be this figure, but it will probably be the one at the bottom. So let's learn. Okay, for this page, the question is about the figure. So it may be about the one with the baseball, but the one at the bottom is the more likely figure they are speaking of. Okay, so a question they could ask you about this picture, use the example of a baseball and bat to describe the forces acting on the ball, the baseball, before and at the moment it comes in contact with the bat. We learned that the word contact means touching. And forces, we know force is a push, it is a pull, and we also learned about the force of gravity. So in this picture, you could talk about the forces acting on the ball. We could talk about the touching force. So let's take our question and use it to write our answer. Before it comes in contact with the bat, think about before, right now, before it touches the bat. What force is acting on it? Well, the force of gravity that pulls everything down. So we will say gravity, and there must be a force that's causing it to move to the bat. So we will call that our unbalanced force. Act on the ball. Full stop. After, sorry, not after, it's over here, at the moment. So we can say when it touches, when it comes in contact with the bat, we have contact. The word is right there. Contact force. Acts on the ball. Okay, you can use that word, or you can say the force of the bat acts on the ball. Okay, so this is the example I gave students to write in class. For this one here, we wrote down before it hits the bat, unbalanced force and gravity act on the ball after it has contact force of the bat. Okay, so this is just an example. They may ask anything about this picture. I just happened to find this question related to this picture in the Inspire Science site. Okay, for this picture here, which I told you is the more important one, they will ask you questions about draw a longer arrow to represent the greater force and a shorter arrow to represent the lesser force. So we already learned that force and acceleration are related. So look at the arrows of your acceleration. We learned that if there is more force, there will be more acceleration. So let's look at which one has the greatest acceleration. It's the one with the two horses, right? So two horses means it's going to pull it faster. So I will put the longest arrow over here. Then look for the one with the shortest arrow. I can see that it's the bottom one. And that's probably because this one has two boxes on it. It has more weight or mass. So this means that it will have the smallest arrow. And this is important. Make sure the longest is the longest arrow and the shortest is the smallest, because this one needs to be a middle size. If this one, the top one and the last one are the same size, I will have to mark that wrong and you will lose a mark for this question. So make sure that this size looks middle sized. This one is the smallest and this one is the longest. Okay, so the one with two horses has the longest arrow because it is the greatest force and the greatest acceleration. The one with two boxes has the smallest force because it has more weight. More weight means more acceleration. And that is the answer to this question. Which two factors affect acceleration? Explain. We just spoke about it. It is force, and you can use the word weight or mass. Okay, I prefer to give you the word mass because it is easier to spell. Okay, you are going to say for the explanation, more force equals more, this word, acceleration. And less force, less mass, we'll just do mass. So more mass, like we see in the last one, more mass equals less acceleration. Okay, so remember the two horses, biggest arrow. Two boxes, less arrow. The one with only one box and one horse will be the middle arrow. And the two factors that affect it are force, and you can use the word mass or weight. Okay, so over here I've written out the answer. These are the two factors that affect acceleration. You will notice I use the word increase. Increase is more. So if you cannot spell increase, use the word more. Use a word you can remember. Okay, now let's go to page 32 of our book. On this page, they will again ask you a question about the picture. This outcome that was given to us does not match the unit number and the page. That is why I said there may be an error with this page, but there's been no correction as far as I'm aware. I've checked and there's no correction still. So we will continue with this page here. Please make sure you study this and you are able to answer it. So the question says, describe the speed, potential energy, and kinetic energy at the point 1, 2, and 3 on the roller coaster. So at point 1, we can see that this car, the roller coaster car, is going to its highest point. The highest point, at the highest point, if you've ever been on a roller coaster, you know that it stops and it just stays there at the highest point before it starts moving. And at that point, you have the greatest potential energy. So your potential energy is high. So you will take the spelling of the word potential energy and you will write potential energy high. At point number 2, it has started moving, but it is still high over here and moving. So its potential energy, it has it, but it has become less. And its moving energy, the kinetic energy, has become more. So you will again write potential energy, but you will say becomes less. Then you will add the second word, kinetic energy, becomes more. For the last section of the track, you can see that it is coming to a stop over here. So at that point, both of the energies will become less as it comes to a stop. So you will write kinetic energy, potential energy. You can switch the words. It does not matter as long as you put both of these words. Low. You can say low or less as they come to a stop. We did not speak about the word speed in our answer, so let's add that in. There is no speed at point 1 because it is not moving. So 2 and 3 is where we will add in our words about speed. At point number 2, our speed is more, and at point 3, our speed is less. Okay, so the last question is on page 59 of Unit 3. Again, this outcome does not match our page number and unit. So I'm not sure if it is an error, but we will continue with this page because we have not been given any information otherwise. Okay, so what are the questions you may get? Number 1, they may ask you, list the changes in the landscape. So give the things that can change a landscape. In this answer, we know that it could be all of these things. So physical weathering, chemical weathering, living things. All of these can change a landscape. For number two, what is the process that breaks material? We learned that with our song. Weathering breaks it. You could be asked to explain how heavy rainfall can affect the land and the living things and the living things. So how does a lot of rain change the land and how will it make the living things that live in that area's lives different? So let's think about heavy rain. When there's a lot of rain, there will be maybe more flooding. So heavy rainfall, as the rain falls, it will cause more pieces of rock also to move. And moving of the land is erosion. So it can make more erosion. It can also destroy animals' homes. So they ask you, how does it change the land? It can make more erosion. This is how it changes the land. Now let's speak about the living things. It can break. If you cannot spell the word destroy, you can use the word break. It can break animals' homes. And the place they get their food, we call this their food source. Okay, so heavy rain can make more erosion, can break animals' homes and food sources. What can affect how fast land erodes? So, how quickly the land goes away? Well, one thing is the slope of the land. If the land is this way, it will be more erosion compared to a gentle slope. Then we have natural disasters. You learned about those last year, like heavy rains or flooding. Also, vegetation, that's your plants. You can use the word plants or vegetation because this will affect how much sand gets washed away. If you cannot remember natural disaster, you can use amount of rain. Okay, page 32 and 33 are optional. I do not know whether they will be in the exam or not, so you may review these possible questions and answers. Okay, so these are suggested guides for the questions that may come, but please make sure that all the pages that we have reviewed, that you studied carefully because there may be other questions or they may write the question differently from what I have reviewed with you. And they have told us that questions might be in a different order in the exam, in the written exam. Okay, so good luck and I wish you all the best.